welcome to another Green Room Off the Lips session. Today, we're very lucky to have Margreet. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah, pretty much perfect.
Pretty good. Margreet is back in town for a little while. Margreet, aka the Surfing Midwife. I remember, since I've known Margreet, actually, I can't really think of that many people that love J-Bay more than Margreet. Always bumping into her in the water in the morning. And so when I heard that Margreet was going to leave us for a while and move to Johannesburg, I realized that it must be something really, really interesting to get her away from here. So today we've asked Margreet to talk about the project that she's working on in Johannesburg and some of the journey that's taken her there. Yeah. Over to you, Margreet. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, sure. I always get emotional. But yeah, I love J-Bay very, very, very much. Yeah, so I'm Margreet. I have been in Jeffreys Bay since 2004. So it's probably longer than most of you, except for the Watsons. Okay, so before I start, I just wanted to I'm going to do a little research here in a little group. So who's ever heard of a midwife before you knew me? Yeah, okay, it's pretty good, maybe 50%. Yeah, I've heard of a midwife. Okay, good. And then next little research, who has come into this world per vagina? Can we call it that way? And who's come per Caesar? Okay, per vagina. Just good up, yeah. That's also pretty good. That's a good statistic. You can't remember. Okay. And who believes that it matters how we are born? Yeah? It matters how we're born, right? Okay, so let me tell a little bit about my story, and then you'll understand why I can actually move to Joburg, because I'm so passionate about what I'm busy doing. So when I came to Jeffreys Bay in 2004, very little people actually knew what a midwife was. And I was born in South Africa from Dutch parents, grew up here, then we moved to the Netherlands when I was 14, and I came in a world where midwifery was the norm. So when you're pregnant, what you do is you go find a midwife, she does your pregnancy checkups, she coaches you right through, and she births you. You actually never even see a doctor or a gynae like everyone knows here, unless there's a complication. So that was my frame of reference, and that's what I became. I became that sort of midwife. They're very well respected professionals. They're not just nurses and whatever. If people tell me you're a nurse, I say, no, I'm not a nurse. I'm not a sister, I'm a midwife. It's something completely different. So, yeah, you run your own practice, and it's a very rewarding profession. So when I got here, I was very clueless of what was waiting for me here, but I had a little midwifery degree in my pocket, and I was, wanting to come back to my country of birth. So first of all, I needed to explain what a midwife is. People thought like, maybe you care for babies or something like that. You're a baby carer. That was sort of what I thought. And then when I was going to reach out to the doctors in towns, like to find out, hey, but there's not a single midwife practice here, could I set up a practice? I was listening to that like, and okay, and good luck, like that. So it was a very humbling experience for me, but also a very good experience. But I started really on ground level in Jeffreys Bay, making waves. So I was part of the founders of the Healthy Mom and Baby Clinic. Me and Laura Birch, we started that, which is a project that if you don't know it, you must know it. Go on your phones, follow Healthy Mom and Baby Clinic or HMBC. And then I also eventually started my own practice as an independent midwife. And I would be the first midwife that actually conducted home births in this area. So I was really also a bit frowned upon, because for many people that is very risky somehow. But it's totally understandable, because that has been your context, right? So I realized quite quickly that in South Africa, there's a whole different approach to birth. And birth is perceived as dangerous. So many things can go wrong. You need to be in a hospital, and you need a whole bunch of medical stuff around you. So, do you think that that has always been the case? Or have you ever asked yourself, how did we end up here? Have you asked yourself that? I'm happy. Because at the time, there were a lot of women that didn't. And my precious friends, when someone is here, I would ask them what happened if I heard they had a Caesar. And they was like, I don't know, my doctor told me so. And they wouldn't know why they had Caesars. And I would be so honestly upset, because for me, a cesarean section is an emergency procedure. And I was like, what went wrong? And then I was like, I don't know, my doctor told me so. And that is apparently, that is still happening up till today. There are, in South Africa, in the private sector, if you're privileged to go to a private sector, 77%, so our stats here is pretty good, we may be on 50%, 77% cesarean section rate. So that means something has really gone wrong down the line. And if we don't interfere, we might just have a generation that doesn't know how to give birth anymore. And don't we lose something that is really profound then? And that's how radical it is. So, yeah, from groundroot levels, just making waves in Jeffreys Bay, and lots of educational, lots of childbirth education. That's what I eventually felt we need to empower women. We've changed the culture in Jeffreys Bay. And now I want to say that we have changed, we're supporting each other as womanhood, as let's do this naturally, right? I think we've changed quite a lot here, and it's not my doing, it's what's busy happening in South Africa, thank God. There's a lot of awareness, there's a lot of people wanting to reclaim birth back. However, there is still little access to really good birthing experiences to get the birth that you want. So you've got at the moment, you've got either you go to the private sector, which is owned by obstetricians, and it is a business. So if you want to get your baby into a private hospital and you want to have good care, the best care, you're going to have to fight your way through to get a natural birth. And you almost have to become a midwife yourself. And that is unfair, you know. Or you need to get like a doula or whoever, or you need to do so much research and study to tell the doctor, no, this is really what is the best for me. And meanwhile, you know, we as healthcare professionals would cheer you on and say, come on, you can do this, instead of other way around, you know, because giving birth is real. I mean, come on, it's not, Amy's like, what is waiting for me, you know? It's a bit scary. And we should actually, as healthcare professionals, say, you can do this and we're here for you. But it's not the case, unfortunately. Then you've got a very few places where independent midwifery is flourishing. At the moment in Joburg, I'm flabbergasted how lucky the independent midwives are that there's a lot of them. So that's quite a good, it is an option. But in Cape Town, for example, the independent midwives are not existent anymore because the doctors don't want to back them up anymore. So we're in the moment in a real independent midwife crisis. So there's here and there a few. And then the problem if the midwives and doctors don't work together is that midwives would carry on doing their work, but I would not refer when it's needed. And that is when midwifery is perceived as, you guys are risky. So midwifery can only flourish and be safe if we all work in a system where it is facilitated for that you can have a beautiful natural birth, but in case we need intervention, we can easily refer without any hassles. And that is unfortunately not the case in South Africa. So then the other option is the government hospital, which is ruled by midwives, by the way. There they have a midwife-led approach where, yes, we're going to try this all natural, and then if need be, you're going to go get a cesarean if there's any kind of problem. But the government sector we all want to also not go to for various reasons, which is not always true. We can get really good experience in a government hospital too. that's where I'm coming from. We need a solution, right? And I think we've done quite well with bringing awareness and new couples wanting to research their birth options, and then might come to the conclusion, yes, natural is all the best for me and for baby, but then where can I go get that safely done? And that's a reality even in Jeffreys Bay at the moment. So I have come to a point where I don't want to talk about all the things that go wrong in the country anymore, and all the things that is not working, and all the doctors that are telling so many lies, and all the midwives that are not stepping up and be proper, well-equipped, independent midwives. I've come to a point, let's be part of the solution. And we are busy creating a solution. I partnered up with a doctor in Joburg, Dr. Howard Manyonga, and another few midwives. And we are working on a new solution where we are working together in partnership, in a collaborative effort, and also where we make access to beautiful natural birth, midwife-led, accessible for a way bigger part of the population. Where now it's maybe quite high-end if you want to pay for an independent midwife. Not everyone can afford it. We want to, and it's very, very one-on-one care. We are working on something where we can have birth centers, but we work in a team of midwives with doctors backing up if need be, with doulas and so forth. And then, so we're busy working out our model, and if it works, which I believe it will, we can empower midwives and doctors, teams right across the country, and I believe Africa, to do it themselves. So not going to set up birth centers left, right, and center. We're busy working out our manual at the moment. And another thing that's interesting, it's revolutionary. It's a new concept in healthcare, not only for birth, but everywhere, that we need to have value-based care. It's a concept that has different pilots in the world where they're trying it, but it's not really implemented everywhere, and that is something that will affect your pocket. So at the moment, healthcare is obviously also a business, and you pay fee for service. So wherever you go, you just have to swipe your card and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't facilitate that we work together as a healthcare team, because most of the time it's quite complex and we need a holistic approach, and there's different members of the team that needs to be looking after you, and that's especially true for birth. So what we're working on is having a global fee where we include the different members of the team, and up front, and that we're also negotiating then with the schemes. The schemes are waiting for a solution because they also can't justify anymore all those high payments for cesareans and interventions and so forth. So I think we're onto something that could be potentially really great, and that is why I moved to Joburg for a while. So I'm creating ways in Joburg, and yeah, it's pioneering work, but we're ready for a time like this. So that was my story in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, that is really the mystery of life, because the opportunities I've been getting are off the shelves. Sometimes you just get on with your path, right? Just get on with your path and then do what you think you need to do, but you never know who's watching, So while I was busy working with my PhD, I was traveling the country, and I was basically noticed by a leading parenting advisor, Sister Lillian, which has she basically identified me as her successor. So she gave me her whole life's mission to go do this now. And that is why I'm, as a practical midwife in Green Room, doing a lot of content creation, because so I've been given a 30-year of database and a very established brand, which is called Sensitive Midwifery, where I empower and educate midwives to practice this natural midwifery. And through that, I came across this doctor, and I said, because he ran a little initiative in Durban, and I said, hey, I love what you do here. Can I train your midwives? And then that was actually a nationwide concept that they were trying to figure out. So yeah, I've just built relationship, and then 2 years later he said, can we talk again? And that is how this guy, he's been watching me. He's been saying, yeah, you've put sensitive midwifery on steroids, and can we talk? So you never know who's watching you, and just keep true to your heart what you feel you need to do. Yeah. I never do it for whoever is watching me, that is the thing, but people are noticing, so yeah. Okay, it's a very, very good question, and it's a bit more layered than, I can go in deeper layers because the way we view birth and how we also as healthcare professionals manage birth make actually the need of intervention higher. So we all experience a high rate of intervention, but it's because we haven't approached it from the start all natural. So now we all believe like, oh, there's so many risks, you know. Yes, there is a chance that you need a risk, but let's put it in percentage, like in the Scandinavian countries and in the Netherlands, we have a cesarean section rate of 6%. Okay, put it in perspective. And that's just because the system has facilitated natural, and women and their partners aren't full of fear. And the biggest threat of birth, for birth to happen naturally and beautiful, is fear. Because for birth to work well, you need oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone, it's the binding hormone, it's the feel-good hormone. It's the same hormone when you make a baby. That also is needed when you get the baby out. So that is actually the environment we need for a good birth. What we've done, we've raped birth, we've put it out there in a sterile environment. Women are full of fear. They don't surrender to a natural process where they feel safe and secure and all of that. That's why we need so many more interventions. And please help me get this baby out, because I don't know what to do. I'm not functioning to my intuitive core how I should give birth. So we have become used to the idea that we need all these interventions, and thank you God that a doctor was there, he saved the day. But so that is just to help you understand how radical it is that we need to rethink birth, because the way we approach it, we're going to need more interventions. Then obviously I've got no problem with a beautiful birth in a hospital setting. It doesn't matter if it's at home or in a hospital or wherever. For some women, they really freak out by the idea of being at home. Then home is not good for you because you're going to be full of fear. If you feel good being in a hospital where all the theaters are ready waiting for you and the oxygen is there and the more people are there and you feel, you know, I can relax, then that might be your best environment. So it's also an individual approach for who you're dealing with. And then, yes, if you choose for maybe birth away from a hospital, there are also some rules. So more or less, in the Netherlands, it's a rule that you need to be 20 minutes away from a referral hospital. So I would not go sit in a tsitsikama or in a Langkloof. I've been asked so many times to come help birth there because they believe in natural birth, but they have no access to. So they go do it on their own. But I wouldn't go there because I know if there's an emergency, I want to know, this is what I do, pick up the phone, I go and the doctor's waiting for me. So you need to always, if that's your consideration, have things back up in place. That's also the reason why I've never opened the door to do home births here with the government hospitals back up, because the government, you never know what you're gonna get. They might have a full set of doctors, but the next day there might not be doctors, and in the evening when you need an emergency Caesar, oh sorry, we don't have doctors, and then you know. So you need to be. That's why it needs a whole system approach to make it safe. I hope you understand. That answers your question. Oh, cool question. Yeah, so. I always loved surfing, and and I love a bit of a competition. And back in the day, Des Sawyer, he wrote me in the longboarding scene, and then I just kept doing the surfing competitions once a year. And as much as I knew I can't focus all my attention on surfing and competition because that's not my path, yeah, it was just always possible that I could carry on doing the yearly competitions. And then one year I got my personal best. I actually made it through to the finals at Komiki. And then I came fourth, and number 1 and number 2 of the country qualified to go to Worlds. But number 2 was pregnant, and number 3 just had a baby. So I'm like, I'm a midwife, I will go. So I made it to Worlds by complete, I don't know, it was for me still just a little treat from God. Like, no, you just go have fun, you know. And it was a completely paid world champs experience for me. But then my colleague at Mama Baby Clinic wrote a little article for the Koga at Our Times stating local surfing midwife off to China. And then I was like, oh, that's cool, because now the two are coming together, because I always had a bit of a conflict, like I'm so midwife but I'm surfer, and yeah, I don't know. And then it's like, that's cool. And then the next year I qualified officially. Then I came second. And so I qualified to go to Worlds again, but this time it wasn't sponsored anymore. Swatch pulled out. And then friends of mine actually ran with the surfing midwife, set up social media accounts, all of that, to raise funds. And then that's how the surfing midwife came to be. And then in that time, our Mama Baby Clinic became way more community orientated. Where originally I wanted it to be also private. So I had my private practice all linked in there, but we went more with government stock and all of that. I didn't want it to be confused with private practice. So then I started trading as the surfing midwife because it was existing. So as a private midwife, I became the surfing midwife, which was quite cool. I was once in PE and doing a birth in a Muslim community. And all the Muslim aunties were coming, sitting on the bed and talking, this is the surfing midwife. Yeah, I found it's very catching, but yeah, it came to me. I didn't think it up. Yeah. Okay.